how the Dark Knight trilogies in a way are built, in a way are how they are transformed and structured. So it is some sort of linear, this is back and forth. There is some sort of only two worlds in that sense. Two worlds between good and evil, and there's always some sort of a back and forth. So in that sense, you have some sort of a chronological development from Bruce, who then gradually becomes older and older, who then comes into age and who masters his life. I mean, who analyzes his life. This is as well as some references to the Count of Monte Cristo with Edmond Dantes in the dungeon, who then becomes this fighter, this true me, and so on. And then his public persona, the Count of Monte Cristo, is then his public persona, which he keeps up. And this is as well as with Bruce Wayne. With Bruce Wayne, where he becomes this exuberant wealthy man or eccentric wealthy man and so on, where he makes all these appeal and so on. However, whereas in a series, this is of course way more difficult, especially if you have a series with many characters. Then you of course have to create a character arc for everyone. I mean, how the development of every character, and this always interferes, and I saw some problems with it in my first series I wrote. The first screenplay I wrote throughout the entire series, and this was always that it was some sort of, it was always just add up. I mean, this is what I felt. I mean, if you, like I said, if you are a writer and if you always feel something. I mean, if you write something, you always feel it. Yeah, sometimes it works. That it doesn't work. You somehow feel, okay, I didn't write it and so on, or I didn't write it well. And what I realized in my first attempt to write the first season of a series was that it was some sort of, that the scenes was only added up, so that the scenes always were put together. But the problem was that they were not interwoven. And this is very important. And this is what you see in the with Batman and the Dark Knight trilogy. The scenes, even though they are only two aspects, even though they are linear, there are two aspects. There is some sort of a genealogy or chronological development from a small world to a big world, yet they are very well interwoven. I mean, you see always where this switch when Bruce is being in prison, then some sort of you have this feeling he's doing something wrong, he's misguided, or he's Tibet, a smuggler, whatever he's doing wrong. And then in the opposite of the scale, if you want, then crime is winning. But then when Bruce is more determined, when Bruce accomplished more, is being trained by Ra's al Ghul, then you see that crime is some sort of weakened by Rachel and Harvey Dent and so on. You really see that these scenes, that they are always interwoven, and this is really good. I mean, and this is what I realized more and more. I think The Dark Knight is a very good movie if you want to analyze and especially analyze how those scenes transformations have to work. Because I would lie if I would say that I had figured it out, because this is still very difficult, especially if you have a lot of plot lines, intricate plot lines. But however, what I realized in my first attempt was with the screenplay of Invert was that the scenes that they are not interwoven enough, that they do not go into each other, that the characters, and I don't mean that the characters should play a crucial part in their worlds or whatever. So because if I say that the scenes should be interwoven more, everyone would immediately assume that the characters in my screenplay or whatever that they would meet in real world. And so no, this is not the case. If you only watch a Game of Thrones, there you see, for example, in the beginning, Daenerys, who is one of the main protagonists of the movie. Daenerys is far away. He's been sold off by her brothers to the Dothraki and so on. So she's actually far away from the action. And this is as well as with Jon Snow. Jon Snow, who is one of the main protagonists. And spoiler alert, it then turns out he's Daenerys' half brother, or not that they're cousins, and however, and you see that Jon Snow and Daenerys, that they are far away, and then only throughout the story they come closer, and then they, in the end, Daenerys enters King's Landing and wreaks havoc. However, and then you see that, but however, the story in Game of Thrones, if you watch it, this is interwoven, and this is, I think, Game of Thrones, because not only because of its success, but because of this very intricate storyline, and I think you have to read the books in order to somewhat slowly understand how this works. But again, I mean, I think Game of Thrones as well as struggles in a way as well, how to structure a scene, especially a continuous interval of scenes, because there's of course one beginning and end and so on. But in a movie, if you only watch a movie especially, then you always see that there is a gradual following of scenes. I mean, it is easier in the Dark Knight, I mean, especially if it is chronological, then you always have to look through the timeline and the switch between good and bad, between Bruce Wayne and the villains. This makes it easier in that sense. However, and in my second attempt with Lifesaver, I tried to improve this with Lifesaver. I mean, I try to improve this. I always try to see faults. I always try to improve these faults. But of course, I mean, again, I was not 100% satisfied, or I am not 100% satisfied, because still there is some sort of, I mean, I work rather with some sort of a pattern. I mean, this is because it is easier if you work with structures. I mean, I always or that there are actually two types of workers or authors. This is what I said about it before, that I mean, there's one type of authors, you could say these are Stephen King style workers, authors who just have one idea, one scene, and then they start writing. I mean, this is I think Stephen King even advises that to do that. So only think about one scene, and if you have one scene, then start writing. Yeah, I did that as well. I mean, and if you're an author, you have to find yourself, of course, and then you should try to emulate both scenes. However, so if you follow Stephen King, then you think about one scene, and then you start writing this scene, and then everything will follow as well. I mean, I did that too, and I still do this. Somewhat pet stories, for example, are built on that way, especially short stories, novels, and so on. I still write in that way. However, if you write a very extensive work like the screenplays of Invert, and now with Lifesaver, then the problematic is if you do not make enough further planning, then you get stuck halfway through. And this is I had these experiences as well. I mean, if you have an author and you start writing only with one scene, then things become problematic, especially if this is more intricate, if the story gets more intricate and so on. So this is then the second type of author, where you some sort of make preparations. You want to know what the entire story is about, and then you work with a certain kind of pattern. This approach is more fruitful if you write very, for example, if you write an extensive novel, if you write a novel or screenplay which is more intricate with a lot of plot lines, with a lot of characters, then you should rather structure your writing structure, your screenplays and so on, and make preparations. However, and one of the big issues I face and still face with screenwriting is that how do you make those scene transformations? I mean, what should follow what, or what character arc should be followed by another? I mean, if you have a lot of protagonists, if you have a lot of characters in your scene, then you have the choice how to make it, and this was actually pretty much difficult with Lifesaver, because I still think that my screenplay or the series Lifesaver, this was the first season. I am writing the first season of Lifesaver, that it is better. I mean, I did indeed made some progress with structuring the scenes, but however, I still miss this pattern, which I think would be more fruitful, especially this interwovenness. However, I'm right now wanna finish the first season of Lifesaver. This is actually one of the reasons why I did not start immediately with what I had promised, that I would talk about desire. I mean, I said that, and I wanna talk about desire, but before I start with another philosophical inquiry, I wanna rather make sure that this screenplay, that it works out. I mean, I'm working towards finishing that screenplay, so the first season should be finished, because this was another issue. I somehow analyzed a lot of beginnings. I mean, because beginnings is very important, especially in the streaming business, because if you only watch on Netflix, you can watch a lot of movies, TV shows, as many TV shows as you want, and mostly you will only stick to a TV show if the first, I would say, 5 or 15 minutes grab you. This is some sort of in a book. If you buy books, or this was back in the days. I mean, nowadays no one really, or I think nowadays books are in decline. Many people read audio or listen to audio books. I do listen to audio books because of the simple reason that your eyes don't get sour with audio books, as well as that you have more time, because you do while you listen to audio books, you can do something else like exercise or whatever. I mean, audio books are very comfortable indeed, and however, but if you bought books in the past, then you would, of course, one thing you would bought books was if you would read fewer previews. Yeah, you would read previews and then would see whether this books grabs you, or whether this books gets your attention. Or if you would go into a bookstore, then I would always read the beginning. I mean, whether this book can grab my attention, and somewhere in the middle and then the end. This is, I mean, everyone has a different approach, and then with the rise of online retailers, you rather read what people write about the book only think about Amazon. I mean,